Shalom, everybody. Rabbi Edelstein here again with a short and I hope particularly inspiring Torah thought sponsored by MEOR DC. MEORDC.com is our website. Check it out and learn about our programs around the nation's capital. Why do I hope this is an even more special thought tonight? Well, I'm recording this on the night of the 14th of Sivan in the Jewish calendar. That's the yahrzeit of my grandfather, the anniversary of his passing from this world. So I'm dedicating this Le'ilui Nishmas, Hirshel ben Yitzhak, for the elevation of the soul of Howard Taft Fiedler, my grandfather, alav shalom, of blessed memory. And I'm going to try to tie something about him into the portion. It's a very big portion, Shelach, in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar. And the central incident in this Torah portion is the sin of the spies, the Chet HaMeraglim. We can't go into it in too much detail, but this is very important. It's close behind the sin of the golden calf in importance in our history, and it's because of the sin of the spies that the Jewish people traveled, not wandered, in the desert for some 40 years, because God intended to bring us quickly into the land of Canaan, the Holy Land, but because of this transgression, this incident, there was a decree that that generation would not be able to enter the land. What happened? God had promised the Jewish people that we would go into the land of Canaan and live there, and it would be the place where we'd attain our perfection and holiness as a people. There were Canaanite inhabitants of the land. They were fierce, ferocious, idolatrous people, practiced child sacrifice and many other abominable things. And God said, just as I took you miraculously out of Egypt, I will bring you miraculously into the land. You have nothing to worry about. Despite that promise, the Torah explains that the Jewish people went to Moses, and said, we want to send spies from our own people to decide the best way to conquer the land, approach the land. There are many commentaries that discuss whether that request itself was a transgression, a lack of inner faith in God's promise. But be that as it may, Moshe went along with it. God said, okay, Moshe, your decision if you think you want to go along with it. And Moshe's intention really was to make that spying mission into a preview of the greatness of the land of Israel, telling the spies, the scouts, to bring back fruits. And he was hoping the Jewish people would be full of joy at seeing the fertility of the land, and they'd want to go into the land of Israel happily ever after, etc. But that's not what happened. 10 of the 12 spies, they were all great leaders of the Jewish people. 10 came back with a negative report about the land. First saying that the people are too strong there. We won't be able to conquer them. We won't be able to inhabit it. And then even saying bad things about the qualities of the land itself. There's a lot to say about how they were able to do that. Even things that were beautiful about the land, they distorted in their reports to the people, or rather they took really good things to be bad. It's a whole beautiful, interesting portion. But here's what I want to share with you. The two spies who defended the land of Israel, Yoshua and Kalev, the expression one of them uses is, Tova haaretz ma'od ma'od. The land is good, the land of Israel is good, very much, ma'od ma'od. And that echoes a phrase in the oral law. One of our rabbis in the oral tradition says, in talking about the trait of humility, he says, Ma'od ma'od hevei shval ruach. Very much, those same two words, ma'od ma'od, you should strive to be of lowly spirit. How important it is, in other words, to be humble. One should make extra efforts. It's the most important of all the character traits in leading to other good character traits and ways of acting in the world. Well, my grandfather was a very humble person. He was a soft-spoken, kindly, and compassionate man who absolutely had the trait of humility, of being shval ruach, no airs, no sense of self-importance, and a very great humanitarian and a doctor in his professional life. Now, the Slonim Rebbe, great Hasidic rabbi, in his commentary on this portion, tells us that the purpose of life, and he says this a lot, and this is central to our tradition, is to come close to God. To choose through our actions to come close to God and delight in that closeness. And all of the mitzvot of the Torah, the commandments, are divine pieces of advice, so to speak, on how to get closer to God and cling to God. And among all those great pieces of advice and gifts God gives us, 3 stand out as reservoirs of tremendous holiness to access. One is in spatial terms, that's the land of Israel, the Holy Land. One is in time, Shabbat, the holy day. And one is in our own personal soul connection, and that's the Torah. That incredible, the most intimate connection we can have with God in this world is when we study the Torah and we join our mind to God's mind, so to speak, and open our soul to the divine influence and illumination of the Torah. But the three great reservoirs of holiness, Shabbat, the Holy Land of Israel, and the Torah, all of these, the great Slonim Rabbi says, are gifts that we can only appreciate and access with humility. And that's why the spies, they said, the land is good, very good, ma'od, ma'od, because it was a hint to that trait of humility. Be very much, one should try to be humble. The only way to attain and to inherit the land of Israel is through humility. The only way to gain a connection to Torah, to let Torah wisdom in us and to illuminate us, is through humility. You have to put aside your ego. And the only way to really keep Shabbat, you have to put aside your own pursuits and pastimes and normal mundane activities and connect to God on the holy day of Shabbat. You need to be humility and a humble spirit to reach the highest levels of holiness. Moshe Rabbeinu, the great leader of our people, was the epitome of humility. And humility doesn't mean being a doormat. It means recognizing the gifts you have, but taking no credit for yourself and seeing them as a responsibility that Hashem has given you to bring out into the world for His benefit, for the benefit of your fellow man. Moshe Rabbeinu had that trait of humility. My grandfather, Alav Shalom, Hirshel ben Yitzhak, truly had that. He never knew much about traditional Judaism in his upbringing, but as I look back on his life, I realized he had the Yesod HaYesodos. He had the foundation. Being shval ruach, being an anav, a humble person, that's the trait that can lead us to the very highest levels of spirituality. Have a wonderful week and a great Shabbat.